Hello and welcome to this overview of how I'm building the RC-505 looper inside of Ableton. So over here on the right, you'll see my Max4Live window, and I'm going to go through how I have set everything up so far. This is part 3. If you want to see part 1 and 2, you can find those on my channel, and then I'm going to be adding more and more features and building it out. So go ahead and leave a subscription if you would be so kind. So in here, the setup, this is from a user, a YouTuber. They posted that they had their loopers in a instrument rack, and that basically they were using chains to send the different loops between them. And so I took that idea and then I wanted to kind of expand on it, and so I started building out this looper switcher. So how does it work? Basically, you have a play button and record button on the left, and then you have a stop button and a clear button if you hold it down. Over here, you have some undo, redo. This is reset is for the entire device basically, and stop transport is the global transport up in the left hand corner here. This is for overdub redos, and it's not fully done yet, but I'll get into that. So what do we have so far? When we press play here, it's going to start recording, and then it's going to track the tempo here and change the tempo. That's just a feature of the looper. You're going to hit stop. So we have one layer here, and let's do another layer. Okay, there's some glitches for sure. I have some tempo warping stuff going on. Regardless of that, I'm going to work that out. But basically, you can loop over this, and that works great. Now on this last one, if I want to undo it, instead of actually undoing it, what I'm doing is that it's just gonna mute and unmute, right? And then if it's unmuted and I hit record, then it's going to record over it. Let me restart this here. Okay, so that's what I have so far. And then I basically put the reason why I put these on separate tracks is so that when it goes through, I'm going to add a feature to be able to. I'm going to have a feature where I can basically have another button that's going to export all these clips across so that you can adjust the volume, etc., and save your loops a little bit easier. So that's what we got cooking so far. So if you undo and play, then it'll re-record over the track that you just did. But because there is in the looper device in Max4Live, you're only able to quote unquote undo when you have when you've done the overdubs. And so kind of a workaround, because I wanted to have each track individualized on each looper, what it does is it just mutes that chain, and then if the chain is muted and you hit record, then it'll over it, so you won't be able to well, you can undo that, I suppose, it'll just be muted. But you can't double undo. I think that's just the case with all loopers. You're just not able to double undo. Okay. And then when you hit press hold to clear, then everything clears and gets reset. And the reason why there's been some tempo stuff is I think maybe somewhere along here I'm messing with some of that stuff over here. But I'll get to that in a bit. All right, I'm going to walk through each of the features here of what we've got so far. I know it looks complicated, but I'm going to try and keep it simple as I can. So over here, let's do this. Okay, starting from we'll just go like left to right. This right here is just the background color of the actual presentation window. I just want it to be gray, so when it's frozen or locked, it's gray. That's it. That's what this did. At some point, I accidentally set it to red or something along those lines. It was awful. Okay, so right here, this is the play button. This is the stop hold button. This is the stop transfer button, reset button. And we're just going to get into it here. So I have this play record button, and over here later on down the line, basically for each of the different states that the button or that the whole thing can be in, I made a number box here, and basically when it's cleared, it put this at 0, and then when I hit stop, it puts it at 1. You can see that right here. When I hit play, it's 2. When it's recording, it's 3. And then if I can show you, if it goes over 10 loops, then it starts overdubbing. And so that's the overdub here. So what happens is basically this select, this is a select, I'll just draw it out here. It's a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, if the number matches, so whatever number gets input into here, if it matches each of these numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or none, then create a bang. And so when it's cleared, it bangs to a couple of these different objects here, and it changes this button, and it also affects this, which is like a panel that I've put behind it. And so if we go recording, it's pretty much just there when you stop to let you know that there's stuff behind here, and it looks like this when it's going, and then when you hit play, and you hit recording, and stopped. And so that's what all of these things do here. So basically we're just sending these color codes to the button and to the text here. And then again over here we're setting each of the, we're setting the text box here. So when it's clear, I set it to empty. When it's stopped, I say stopped, playing, recording, overdubbing. Some of these are some failed experiment type things over here that I don't know if they do anything. I was trying to influence this, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So that's the colors over there and how it derives, if it's stopped or playing, etc. Now, what I was super proud of was this stop a button. I think this is probably one of the first things that I worked on. And so when I hit stop, it fires off to the stop function, which is like basically all of this right here. And when I hit the button one time, it fires off a bang. And then this particular button under the inspector is set up to bang when it's both depressed and impressed. I'm not sure. Impressed, pressed, and depressed. So it sends off 2. So I use this 1 bang to be able to just basically send off 1 bang for the stop message. And then the whole functionality of it centers around here. And you can see in my comment here that this go to this device, canonical parent chains to all shim 1, device is 0. This is cycling through the looper devices, which I'll show you here. So it's cycling through these looper devices one at a time, and it's calling into, it's sending a message to this live.path, which is outputting a ID to the object, and and the $1 allows for the variable to come through from the number boxes. So you'll see a number of number boxes, a plethora of number boxes, if you will, all around that end up going into this device, or this message here, and that is just to again select which looper of these that it's going to control. Now for the stop, the clear, and the play, I have them running through an Uzi, which basically fires out a number of bangs. And in this case, it's firing out 10 for the stop, because basically we're sending out 10 bangs into this counter. This counter is counting from 1 to 10. So it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is sending that message over here to this message. So it's sending a number into the message, which is the variable, and it's doing it very quickly. So it's basically going through each of these loopers, and it's saying, I want to select looper 1, I want to select looper 2, looper 3, and then the device is on what is the chain 0. So basically it skips over 0 because we're starting the counter at 1, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then after that, after it's done, Uzi has a function that it can bang when it's done banging, it sends a different bang. And so I delay that by 10 milliseconds, and then it resets to the first looper. And while this is sending out those bangs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's calling out the call stop function, which is what controls the looper device itself. So I believe if I press this, let me see, if I play, if I press this, then let's see, I'm not sure if this is selecting the right one, but basically you can see when I press it that it goes all the way through the cycle and it stops it. So that's the stop function. So how's the hold to clear work? So what happens is when I press this down, it toggles on this toggle, which again uses that select tool, the SEL, 1 and 0. So if it's 1 right here, if the bang if inputs match 0, bang if inputs match 1. So we're not doing anything on 1 over here, but this is so that when it gets reset to 0, that it resets this clock. And this clock basically just counts up from at 1,000 millisecond intervals. Then once I'm using again the select SEL 4,000. So once it hits 4,000 milliseconds, then I am firing off the clear function, which is sending off an Uzi, which does the same thing. It sends it into this message, and then it calls clear on all of them. And then something else, because this has the issue of it being, because this has the issue of banging on both a down press and an up press, I actually deactivate the button. So it says active 0, and I deactivate both the stop and the clear button and the play record button for, I believe it's 2000 milliseconds. So for 2 seconds. And that way it just allows the whole thing to reset. And so that clears it, bada bing, it delays for 2000, and then it activates them again. I think also I've set it up that when the stop function happens and when the clear function happens, it stops the global transport as well. And so what that is basically we're getting the live path of the live set, and then we're just calling stop playing, which is the message to stop the whole transport here. So you can see stop playing, boom. All right, so while it's holding, in order to create this color effect, which I think is pretty cool, this counter is going up to here where it's scaling between the numbers 0 and 3000, between to 0 and 1, and then it's basically using that color code and adjusting the background of the color here. And when it says scale, it means that it takes the number intervals between 0 and 1. I'm sorry, 0 and whatever number it is, or whatever these two numbers are, and it readjusts it to be in between these two. So for instance, if this was 0 and 10 and 0 and 1, then as it counted up from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, it would go 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, right? So it scales it from whatever these two numbers are to whatever these two numbers are, and then that is going in here, and it's adjusting this first float, which is the red of this color RGB, and then transparency, and then it's sending that to the button. So 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, it clears the whole system. All right, if you're having fun, if you're learning something, go ahead, drop a comment, be like, holy macaroni, this is awesome. Okay, let's get into the recording. So the action for the looper device to record is this call record message. And so what happens is that when this toggle, this is the play button, right? So we have our play button, and when the play button is activated, it toggles on and off this switch here. And if it's a 1, then it's going into this counter here. It's going into this counter, and it is changing this number. So this is again counting from 1 to 10. So you can see here, if I hit record, then it's recording on 1. Then if I hit play, and then if I hit, so basically it doesn't fire another bang when I hit it a second time. So I hit it once, and then it adds a number here, and then I hit it again, and it doesn't add a number. That's so that it can play in the first, the second, the third, so it can record and then play on the same looper device that's going through here, right? So this 3 here is connected to, this is the one. So this 3 is going down here into this message, and again, it's controlling the controlling which looper chain we're working on. Cool. If you're following me, I'm glad. I hope this is not too crazy. I know there's a lot of cables everywhere. I'll clean it up in a bit. Okay, so So there was another problem. Once I figured out how to record, and change the device, the problem was that it needed to be on the specific chain, right? Because otherwise, if you don't adjust it, all these are on the same level, and they all just record each other basically. And so I've changed them and distributed the range here. So you just drag one of them all the way to the end. You click distribute ranges equally. And what I've done is basically I've mapped the chain selector to a macro. And then I'm using that scale. So the scale is taking the chain ID that I want, so the third chain looper device, and it's scaling it to between 11 and 127, which is where our 11 and 127. So this is the first looper device, and so it's just scaling the 1 through 10 up to 11 through 127. And you can see here that I am controlling this is controlling okay, this is nothing, I hope. This is controlling the live path of this track parameter 1. So it's right here. So I have to change this, or maybe that's what that was, to be, well, no, I have to change this, but so that this will be sort of using this device canonical parent. So this device represents this actual loop switcher patch. So this device canonical parent, so that brings me into the looper rack, and then I need to go one more up for some reason into the track, or something along those lines, or maybe the canonical parent here is the chain, and then this is the whole instrument rack, and then a parameter 0 is this chain selector, or it might even be this chain selector here, and then I'm controlling that through this live.remote. So I'm sending that ID in here, and then I'm taking that live dial that's giving me which chain it should be on, and it's sending that signal into the live remote, and it's changing it accordingly. So when I hit recording, you can see it changes here, it sends a new signal over here, and it changes where the chain selector is in here. I'll show you again like this, and boom, perfect, just like that. Okay. So the playing works very similarly, except instead of it being whenever it's on 1, it's whenever it's on 0, and it sends out that Uzi again, 10 bangs, counts 1 to 10, sends this message to cycle through the loopers, and then it calls play on the right here, and then it calls play each time, so that it basically goes like 1 play, 2 play, 3 play. So looper 1 play, looper 2 play. Okay, then I have this here. So the problem was that basically I didn't want it to record if there was already a track on here, and so what happens is that when we reach 10 over here, so you can see here this changes to 21 because from this counter it outputs basically how many times it's cycled through. And so what happens is if it's not 1, which is for the entirety of its first cycle, or your first cycle from 1 to 10, then it closes off this gate. I'm sorry, this gate remains open, and it allows for the call record. But now that it's more than that, you can see that this gate is now currently closed because it receives a if it doesn't match, one, then it sends a 0 into the gate. And so I can't, if I press call record, let's see, then nothing happens, right? And so what now happens is that if it's not 1, then it's gonna send an opening through this gate, and it's gonna call the overdub function. And so when I hit play again to cycle to the recording, activating this toggle here, it's going to call on the overdub instead of the record. And then when I hit play, again, it's gonna cycle through and it's gonna hit play. Okie dokie, let's move on to the undo button here. So what happens is that we're playing, and basically we're checking, is the object of this device canonical parent chains 1. Again, we're taking the number of what chain we're on, what looper device we're on, and we're getting that path ID, sending it into the live object, and then we're checking, or we're setting, right here, we're checking property mute into this live observer. And then depending on if it's muted 1 or unmuted 0, it is sending a bang through here, through this gate, which again toggles the muting or the unmuting of that looper device right here. Okay. And what else is going on here? Because you're like, there's so much going on. So basically, when I undo something, when I click undo, I am opening this gate so that it's going to activate this on the next play. If I'm not mistaken, it's this one. Oh, no. On the next play, the next time I hit this button, it's going to fire a message of descend over to this counter, and it's going to reset the counter number on the next clock. So it's going to, is that what we're doing? No, I'm sorry. It's sending this message of 1 over here to, yeah, it's sending this message of 1 up into the counter. So it's resetting it. There's something funky going on here. Maybe that's why this isn't working properly. It should descend basically by a number, because if I'm doing 2 and then 3 and then 4, so we have 4 right here, and then we undo, I want it to overdub that. And so it's basically like it's gonna decount 1 number over here. That's what this should be doing. It's possible that I have that set up somewhere else. But yeah, that's what's happening there, is that it should descend this number by 1. Curious. Okay, what else is going on? That's it. That's like what we've got so far, basically. Play, overdub, stop, reset. What I was working on next is something that I'm not so sure that it's working, but I can give it a go. Is that basically, as we record into this first 1, 2, 3, 4, that it's going to record to the nearest bar, and then if I press record again, it's going to record for that length of time. Yep, there we go. It records for 2. and then it's going to keep recording. I'm sorry, it kept recording. It's just going to keep on going so that it just continues to go down the line. So it's going to finish this and immediately starts this. And so basically, if you want to just add a bunch of fast recordings in succession, it'll just keep going until you hit play. And then it shouldn't do that. There's something that's not working with it that is basically, I'm not sure if it should be so fast. But what I'm doing here is that we're routing, if it's a 1, if it's the first looper, then we're going to treat it a little bit differently. And we're going to set this global quantization initially to global so that it records at a bar. And then after you're done recording, it sets the quantization to a quarter note. And then for these, once you, for 2 through 10, once you hit the record button, it starts at none. So when we clear it, it starts at none. Over here under the quantization, it starts as none. And then as soon as you play, it sets the quantization to a quarter note. And you can see here, yeah, there was something weird happened. You can see, so this is not all perfect science quite yet. Stop. Yeah, see, it's doing the thing, because basically, again, we have our like clear, stop, play, record, overdub, and what we're doing is we're getting the loop length. Let's see if this is printing. We're getting the loop length. So right now the loop length is 1, and what we're doing is we're taking the tempo of that initial looper that changes the loop up here, and we're doing some calculations. We're multiplying things together so that we get the exact number of milliseconds that represents the length of time of the loop. So let me just manually do this here, right? So you can see we got 4 quarter notes at 73 BPM, and then if I press these, then we can see that we have 3,266.66528 milliseconds. What's happening is we're delaying a bang to go through, and we're delaying it by this exact milliseconds, and then it's going to send out 2 bangs, send double bang, and we're going to receive that double bang and put it into the play button here. And what that did one time, and it might do it now, is that it'll record, ideally, see, this is not working perfectly, but it'll record, should be this exact amount, and then it'll keep going. But there's some kind of time issues when I do it like this. So anyway, that's what we got going on so far. If you would like this, go ahead and go to my Gumroad, themichaelrosenberg.gumroad.com. Sign for the newsletter. I'm going to be releasing this soon once I work out some of these kinks. And like always, like and subscribe, and comment what features you would love to have in this Ableton Max4Live device. Thank you so much.